Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Coon. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. In this episode, we're revisiting a conversation from 2008 with Jose Montesinos, an independent filmmaker known for his unique storytelling and engaging short films. I first encountered Jose's work during the Converge South Film Festival in 2007, where his submissions like Deadly Finger and The Winds of Time captivated audiences. Today, we explore his filmmaking journey, his creative processes, and his experiences in the independent film scene. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. Let's dive back into 2008 with the younger version of myself, talking to Jose Montesinos about his amazing and fun film work. I came across Jose's work when I was directing or putting together the Converge South Film Festival in 2007. Jose submitted Deadly Finger and Deadly Finger 2, The Winds of Time Episode 1 and 2, and the audience absolutely loved it. So I figured, hey, might as well give him a call and see what he's up to and just talk about his filmmaking experience and everything that he's doing as an independent filmmaker. So this is our conversation. Because I was going through your site and I went through like all your short films and, dude, man, some of those films are fucking incredible. Like,
which one?
Like the hold on, I'm actually there. Like The Curse of the Analog Tape. That is hilarious.
Oh, the adventure movie. Yeah. Cool. And, yeah. I'm glad I got to put that up there because that's one of those things that is kind of too long, and I didn't know if it was going to fit on there, and I just kind of thought, I'll put it up there, and he told me it would be okay, and but that's one of those movies that not a lot of people get to see.
Yeah. Well, when did you start shooting films?
I guess when I was like 13, 14.
Uh-huh.
And just, making them with, at the time I didn't have a camera, my buddy Eric did, and he had a VHS, those VHS.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
Yeah, yeah, and so we just made random music videos or little short movies. We had no idea what we were doing. We just know we loved movies, so. And then I got my first camera when I was about 14, and then I just, kept doing stuff, and so I've been making stuff forever, just like that, as a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that people like now are just kind of revamped, rethought out versions of stuff I did when I was a kid, and I was like, that was a good idea.
No, you're right. I understand completely. And what's weird is watching today's filmmakers or out in Hollywood. It's pretty much like when you fantasize when you're a kid. You're like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? Like Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah.
And then they come out with it. You're like, what the fuck? That's just so random.
Yeah.
And now all the comic books are coming to life, and just that shows a lot about where we came from, and people in power now, are our age, our we're finally hitting that peak where all of our ideas are starting. What influenced us as kids are starting to come to fruition. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, I think that all the time when I see stuff, and I'm just kind of like, oh, brother,
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, I was gonna ask you, so you know Micah Moore and the guys who are doing Dogs of China. Are you involved in that at all?
Yeah. Micah Blake and I. Blake and I have a history together where we've been friends, and he's been we kind of influence each other. But then after I got fired from my corporate gig, I kind of just started going into freelancing and into contract work, and it came at a perfect time because that's when Dogs went right into production. So I kind of tagged along. I did all the behind the scenes, which I haven't even touched yet as far as editing, because I think I have 50 hours of behind the scenes with nothing that links anything together. It's just random crap. So it's going to take a while for me to put that together. But we just started working together, and I've known Micah for a while. I've known of him, and then we started working together. It just started, we started this bond, and it's really cool, man. We have this really professional but also, laid back, friendship, all of us. So
cool.
We all work together. If I need anything, they help out. If they need anything, I help out. I think kind of like what you and the stunt people have, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
And
they very rarely ask me for anything, although Dennis will.
Uh-huh.
We're pretty good friends. But if they did, I mean, I totally, you know, I helped a couple of them out on stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like that.
And how did you get started up with the stunt people? How did you first, you know, hear about them and, you know, your first film with them?
Oh, well, see, the thing about that is, like, I was friends with Dennis Rule, you know, first, and I met him probably in, like, 2001, maybe, late 2001, and it was funny because, you know, I used to watch Public Access, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a thing on I had like a little show on Public Access where I would show my videos, because, you know, this was back before there was any YouTube or anything like that.
Right.
And Public Access was a great way to, like, have stuff that people could see on TV, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And one night I was watching it, and there was this movie on. It was Dennis's movie, but I didn't know at the time who it was, and it reminded me so much of the movies I had made when I was, like, 19, you know, like, you know, just, like, running around, you know, getting into fights, and, like, just this kind of action kind of plot, you know?
Right.
And but the difference was that his fight scenes were just, like, way beyond anything I'd ever done. I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And then you know, I don't know how it exactly happened, but I was actually looking to train Hapkido, because I wanted to, like, start getting into shape better, and also learning an art that would look good in movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that Hapkido was a good blend of, you know, kicks and throws and all kinds of stuff. And so when I walked into the place, you know, I was telling this guy, you know, oh, I'm looking for this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, yeah, we got a guy here that makes movies too, you know? And I said, oh, really? And then I think it was after that I saw the Public Access movie, and I kind of put two and two together. You know, I kind of went, because
Nice.
I saw the credits, and it said, that, you know, Sunset something, the area, and I thought, I bet that's the guy. So I think I called and said something. I forget exactly, but I eventually went in there with the movie I had made, called Number 35, and I went in there and I met Dennis, and I said, hey, I saw your thing, and this is something I did, and I think your stuff's cool. And he's like, oh, cool, you know, he's really nice. And that he, back then, you know, like, he was always hanging out with Troy and Ray. I'm assuming you know who those guys are.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, you know, so I met them all pretty much at the same time. And then, like, maybe a week later, I saw them again, and they had seen Number 35, and they loved it. They were like, oh, my God, it's the coolest movie ever. It's, like, my new favorite movie. And they were all into it, and we're like, cool, that's awesome, you know. So we kind of hit it off, and it took, I don't know, God, until we did the second adventure movie, which, if you look on the website, it's the one that only has a trailer. It doesn't have the movie. It's the one called The Quest for the Audio Map.
Yeah.
That was actually the first time I finally worked with Dennis and those guys, because we talked about so many ideas for years, but there was always something else going on. I was doing something else, or they were doing something else, and it took a long time before we finally did anything. And then as for the stunt people, they came in, like, later, like, God, I don't even remember what year it was when they first kind of came onto the scene, and I think, like, Dennis met Ed, and Ed knew Eric Jacobus, and somehow they kind of linked. I remember, like, Dennis telling me, hey, we met these dudes, check out some of the stuff they did, and they showed me, like, some clips from Undercut, and I was like, wow, you know? Yeah. And that's pretty good, you know? Dennis was like, yeah, you know, we're going to do this movie, and, you know, and I was just like, oh, cool. And then, you know, that was Contour, which took, to me, it felt like it took, like, longer than friggin' Star Wars to make, but but that's because, you know, of the way they were doing it.
Right.
You know?
Hey, what did you have a role in Contour?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, just other than asking Dennis, like, you know, every 4 months, like, when's that going to be done?
It's amazing. Like, that's the first how I got introduced to Eric, was watching it with Blake and Micah, because they're up on all that, you know, independent, real cool stuff. And then when they were talking about, you know, casting for dogs, they were like, yeah, we're going to get Eric Jacobus. And I was just like, who? And then they showed a Contour, and I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, that's going to be awesome if you could pull him in, and they did. And, man, I mean, what a bunch of talent freaks those guys are.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know, as far as, like, being, like, you know, stunt guy or fight choreographers and fight guys and all that, I mean, I think they're, you know, just as good as, if not better than, a lot of the stuff we see in the big movies.
I agree.
You know?
Totally. But they can also act, too. They're not just, you know, stunt people that just fly around everything else. Like, Dennis is amazing, and same with Ray. And I mean, all those guys, like, I mean, Eric came on the set. It's a totally different set. Look at that. How unprofessional of me. My phone's ringing.
I can't even hear it.
All right. But yeah, Ray came on set, and he was awesome. I mean, he helped out every step of the way, but also he was so friendly. And then when it was time to go on screen, he was just so intimidating, and he was just awesome. I have nothing but praise for all the stunt people who I've worked with already so far.
Yeah, no, me too. Like I've worked with, I've pretty much, I work with Eric, and he's in my Hell's Kittens trailer.
That is hilarious, by the way.
Cool, you like that? Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm really hoping to get that thing made. And, Eric, Ed, and of course, Ray, Troy, and Dennis have been like staples of mine for a long time now. And, I'm always impressed with them.
So let me transition into like, what is your career? Are you an independent filmmaker, or do you work at do you have a day job and then at night?
Yeah, I got a day job. I videotape legal depositions.
That's good pay.
It's not bad. It's so, the schedule's so, sporadic. Like, like sometimes it could get really slow and you don't get enough work, or sometimes it's too crazy.
Right.
Because the hours are so insane, and sometimes you have to travel. It can get really, really taxing.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm thinking something else. Yeah, you're no kidding. So you're pretty much at the mercy of the courts wherever they need a deposition.
It's not courts. It's usually they have depositions in like a law office.
Right. Okay.
So I go into like a law office and they set up, and sometimes it's just 2 lawyers and a witness. Sometimes it's 20 lawyers sitting all around this room.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it could take, and it could be over in an hour. I have days where I get out and it's like 11 a.m. I'm like, dang.
Do you ever sit there and like go, wow, that's a great idea when you hear what they're saying?
No, but I have stolen name ideas. Because someone will say a name, I go, that's a cool sounding name, and I'll write it down.
That's cool.
But but usually that's when I write my scripts. Is when I'm sitting there. I've written most of the things I've done in the last 5 years, sitting in a deposition.
Now, tell me about Hell's Kittens. What are you trying to do with that? And you sent me an email that said like you went out to L.A. and you had some really good interest in that.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get like some kind of budget to do it and be able to sell it and distribute it, kind of thing. I'm trying to make all the right steps that I didn't make when I made my last feature, and so I knew it was important to own the movie outright and to try to, get some kind of financing for it so people can get paid at least some kind of minimum thing, so everyone kind of, take it seriously as a gig as opposed to trying to do it the old school way, which is, shoot on weekends,
right?
Gets paid, you know what I mean? And so I went down to L.A. because I know a filmmaker guy down there, and he really loved the idea, and he goes, oh, let me introduce you to these people I work for, and I took it to the Asylum. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They're like a independent, like little film company, and you probably see their movies on shelves all the time. They're always these kind of sci-fi or horror movies that are always trying to be in the same vein as another movie.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Snakes on a Plane.
I know exactly which one you're about to say.
They did Snakes on a Train. Yeah. Transformers, they did Transmorphers, okay?
So...
yeah, and, there was like, what was it, 100,000 BC came out, they did, 100 million BC, and anyway, so, I took it to them, I took it to this other place, I took it to a couple of people, and, talked to them, and everybody loves it, everybody loves the idea, they're cracking up, they think it's great, but it's not like what they're wanting to do.
Right.
So... But I met a couple of other people who kind of are like, free kind of floating guys who like work a little bit here, work a little bit there. And this one guy in particular is really into the idea. And so right now I'm kind of been talking to him about trying to like pool our resources together and find a way to get this thing made, even if we have to shoot it in like chunks,
Wow.
So, because we really want to make it. We really think it could do well because it's got all the makings to become kind of like a B-movie kind of cult.
Oh, hell yeah, it does.
Cult hit,
And right now, the timing is great because these kind of movies right now are just huge. Like, as far as, like, you're talking about cult films.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And people who like, we're hoping that people who really like, you know, like Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Switchblade Sisters and movies like that will, you know, we even have like the possibility of getting like, I don't know if you know who Tura Satana is. She was the woman who was the actual star of Faster Pussycat Kill Kill.
Uh-huh.
And I met her and became her MySpace friend, you know, and you know, been emailing back and forth with her, and she actually is interested in maybe making a cameo in it. And then, you know, Jack Hill, I'm assuming you know who he is.
No, not familiar.
He's the filmmaker who made, you know, like Switchblade Sisters and Coffee and, you know, not Jackie Brown, the other one, Foxy Brown, the one that influenced Tarantino to make Jackie Brown.
Okay.
You know, he's that guy. He's like a cult hero director.
Yeah.
And I met him, and you know, we're looking to get him into a camp. Like, so we're looking to try to make this like a movie that'll go right alongside those, you know. So yeah. So anyway, that's what we're trying to do, really.
Man,
you know?
I mean, that sounds really exciting for you. And like, where's it at? Where's the stage right now? It's just kind of like on hold, waiting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm working on like doing 3 different budgets, you know, and trying to figure out what, you know, that way we could be done for this much, could be done for that much, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, like this guy I told you that I met in LA, he's talking to people, and he's actually going down to the Philippines next month to make some movie for Roger Corman, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he comes back from that, we're looking at try to get it going by like late July.
Wow, that's So what's your ideal budget? Like, if you could have your way, obviously, you know, don't say 10 million, but like what you know, what would be your ideal?
Ideally, $100,000 would be, you know, awesome.
Cool.
You know, but $50,000 would be almost just as awesome.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we're looking more realistically like 20, 30. You know, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what Dogs was made, was like for 30, and
Really?
we're about to shoot another one called World War Dead, and we're shooting for 50, and right now I think we have about like 25. We have half of it, but you know, we're still looking for more funds to do, you know, post production.
And where do you guys get your funds?
Well, there's a guy in Greensboro who he's been funding all these independent features all over the place. He has like a kind of like a cache of filmmakers who he trusts, and he gives them money. Last year he did Dogs. The year before he did Z13, which was a zombie film, and he also did last year one called Children of the Hunt, and I think that was it's close to 100,000 right now. So
wow.
I cannot tell you the background of him because I don't have access. Blake and Micah know him really well because they work together with him. But as far as what I hear, I think he is a trust fund. You know, he has a trust fund or something where he just has access.
Damn trust fund people.
He just has access a ton of money, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just like, damn. It's nice to have those kind of people, but now I think Blake is starting to branch out because Dogs is getting so much attention that more people are interested in what they're going to be doing for the future. Which is really nice. That way we. No,
that's great, man. I mean, that's ideally what you want to do. I mean, ideally, I'd love to find some kind of private investor guy who kind of just trusts you to do it and not, you know, be like, okay, I want to own this and put my niece in it, and you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the ideal situation because, like, that was the thing. If Asylum had said, yeah, let's make it, they would have owned it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They would have owned it outright and just been like, we'll pay you your director's fee, but you know, and we'll give you like, you know, this little bit of money to go run out there and make it, but in the end, we're going to own it.
Right, and see, this is a good thing because right now we have this, we have profit sharing, like all 4 of us, like Blake, Micah, Jesse, who's directing it, and I'm doing the audio for it. We're all going to be profit sharing 50% of the profits together, so we're splitting that 4 ways. Then whoever, you know, finances the rest of the film gets their money back plus 50% of the profit.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of like, you know, if you give $25,000, you're going to get back your $25,000 plus 50% of whatever we make.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Or 25%, since it depends how much the actual budget turns out to be. So,
see, man, I gotta talk to you about all that stuff more because you know, this is all like kind of new to me, and so obviously you guys know what you're doing about it.
Well, we're experimenting and going. You know, we're kind of learning as we go along. But Blake is really starting to, pan out as a big time, or I wouldn't say big time producer, but Blake is really good because he could just sit and he learns so quickly, and he's been in watching movies all his life. He had a video store, and he just kind of like learns almost like osmosis, or it's there in front of him, and it becomes him. And it's fun to watch because now he's talking to other people outside dealing with dogs, and he's learning off them. So, it's kind of like step by step where he wants to go to that next step where he actually is talking to distributors and actually talking to the people who want to buy it. So that's
cool, yeah. See, like, I don't learn things like that fast. That's the one thing about, like, I have this tendency to, when it comes to, like, I don't even want to say the word technical because that's not necessarily technical, but when it comes to things that are, I guess technical, my brain, man, just like, it has to be like hammered in there,
right?
Like with giant, stakes, for me to finally go, oh, I see,
Right.
When it comes to like coming up with movie ideas and making a movie and doing all that, that's like, for some reason, that's not a big deal to me, but I come up with stuff and I can make stuff happen. But when it comes to like, you have to sit down and do the budget, or you have to sit down and figure out, talking to the producers and, the back end and all this, stuff. Or even when it comes to like real computerized technical, like, oh, you go into your this and that, like it just takes me forever to finally grasp the concept.
See, that's one thing I've learned I used to be creative and come up with all these ideas, and then I got into the corporate world and my creativity was sucked dry for me, and I turned into this tech geek where it was just like, I must learn this, and now I have all these like skills with Final Cut and all the applications, and I can't think right.
No, but hey, there's good stuff to know.
It's great stuff to know. I'm not complaining about that, but it's just like now my creativity is kind of like hidden behind all this technical stuff, which would be great if I could just switch it off and be like, all right, now I'm back to creativity. But I come up with a couple things, but I get inspired by weird things like Corporate Assassin. I'm just like, damn corporate world. The people that piss you off, we got to like, just get them out of the office. Stuff like that where it kind of means something to me.
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
And by the way, I also love that short film you had where you had that vigilante that just used to get, got drunk and stoned or whatever and went out and killed bad people.
Oh, you saw that? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see just the one, or did you see both of them?
I think I just saw one. Which one? What was it called?
Well, the first one is called Vicio, just Vicio.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the one that takes place like half in Peru. We shot half of it in Peru.
Well, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool, actually. But the version that's on my website is a really, really stripped down. The original movie is about 40 minutes long.
Wow.
The one that's on the website is 17, because I was like, I made a version like that to send it to this mentorship program, and I didn't want to give them this 40-minute movie, so I stripped it down to like the basic elements of what happens, and it works. Like if you watch it, it's like I have this friend of mine. She really likes that one. She watches it all the time. She told me, and I finally sat her down and I said, well, let me show you the 40-minute version. And so we watched it, and she was like, wow, okay, it makes so much more sense. Like it worked for her already, but the 40-minute version just like went deeper into like character things, and
right.
There's a lot of things that have more meaning. Like if you watch it the way it is, it makes sense as a story. But if when you see it the other way, it's more like a character study with a story.
Wow, that's interesting.
And yeah, and it's like the knife that he uses, which if you remember has like significance. It was like given to him from his father, and you know what I mean. And but the one you saw was a follow-up film I did because I wanted to make something a little bit shorter that was dark. And
it was dark, but I love those kind of films.
Yeah, and I wanted to do something because everyone just knows me from like Deadly Finger and Winds of Time and all that, and that's great. But I just wanted to kind of, for my own sake, like make something a little different. And also, it shows kind of the range of the guys, like Dennis and Ray. And
true.
Personally, I think, in my opinion, that's like one of Ray's best acting performances I've ever seen him do. Like, as far as just being this character, like because Ray usually plays the bad guy and stuff. He's always the bad guy and stuff. That's just he's got that good look, and that's why everyone goes, oh, he did that guy in my movie. He used to always make jokes about it, like, oh, I'm just a bad guy, and But in that movie, like, you know, it was really important to me that he wasn't playing the stock bad guy, you know, like, I really wanted him to have like a living, breathing soul, you know, and he really went there, and I was really impressed. And he told me that, you know, just recently, actually, he said, you know, oh man, I can't really watch that. I can't watch myself in that.
Why?
I guess because he really like put his emotions behind what he was doing, and it's weird for him to see it, you know.
Yeah.
I think what happens a lot of times, especially with people who are, you know, non-actors, who are, you know, but you know, go up in front of the camera all the time. I think what happens is, and I've done this too. It's like we tend to go into kind of our stock character, the one that we know we can just kind of conjure up and do, and it works, and everybody is fine with it. And I know that, like, you know, like Dennis and Ray have that. Like, they've done that a lot in a lot of their stuff, and I've done that. Like, for me, everyone loves me in The Winds of Time, that Jorge Valenzuela character, right?
Yeah.
And everyone loves that and thinks it's great. And I'm like, you know, that's really easy for me to do. Because it's, you know, it's kind of like, I don't even explain it. It's a switch, you know? And all of a sudden I'm doing it. And it's basically just an extreme exaggeration of my father when he's drunk, you know? And, I mean, even the outfit, you know, like a lot of that is his clothes, you know?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And so, you know, and so it's easy to fall into that, you know? And that's why when we did that movie, I really didn't want that. I was like, and I told Dennis, I go, Dennis, you're not the hero in this at all. You know, you're the scared, weaselly guy who, you know, doesn't really know how to fight. And Dennis was excited about doing that because he was like, yeah, I don't do stuff like that. And you know, Dennis is really interested in being an actor, not just an action guy, you know. And but for Ray, I mean, Ray plays two parts, if you remember.
The first part where
he's the brother, you know. He's the brother of the guy, and he plays himself or his own brother, which that was funny. And I got a lot of comments about, you know, a lot of Stunt People fans. It's hard for them to see that movie and not separate it from, you know, Deadly Finger and all that, you know. But the people who could really like it.
Now, where else can people see that besides your website?
That's really it.
Oh, okay.
I haven't put it anywhere else because I just didn't know where else to put it, like, because it was so long, and on YouTube you can't put things that are longer than 10 minutes, and, you know.
Yeah, put it up on Vimeo, man.
Can you put it up there for longer than 10 minutes?
You have 500 megabytes of storage per week. So you could upload a really high-quality version of anything you have. I put up my whole documentary of Greensboro's Child, which is an hour 15. And,
dope. Okay.
And it took up, I think, maybe 200 megabytes or something like that, and a real nice quality, too.
Oh, you know what, man? Then I'll put up both of them.
Yeah.
I could actually, so you're saying I could actually put up the 40-minute version, too, huh?
Sure can. The cool thing is you can even do it, you know, the regular aspect ratio, too. Like if you shot widescreen, and you have it, you know, you export it as 16:9 or, you know, whatever it's like 853 by 480, and then you down or whatever. You can even upload that, and Vimeo maintains the aspect ratio. So it's really cool. So now you can have you know, widescreen stuff without the black bars on the top or the bottom.
I see. Even if the stuff was actually shot 4:3 and you added the widescreen later.
Well, yeah. I mean, then there's nothing they could do about that.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, if you export it as a, you know, the same aspect ratio you shot it in, then they maintain it. And the cool thing is you can actually upload HD video to their site. I mean, it's pretty high, you know, once you...
Yeah, well, I could tell by that Dogs of Chinatown trailer looks amazing. Like the quality, I was like, damn.
Yeah, there's some people on there that go out with like just supreme cameras, shoot just amazing stuff, and then upload it with HD. And I sit and I watch it for like 3 hours a day. I'm just like, holy cow! I mean, it's just some beautiful stuff. And then you go back to YouTube, you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, you know, YouTube's great because it's quick and fun and everything. But and for stuff that's really, you know, kind of funny, it's great. But
there's so much stuff on YouTube that you get lost. Like a lot of the creative, really talented pieces gets lost in all that, you know, muck of everything else.
So you're saying each week, as a member, you're allowed 500 megabytes?
Yep, every week. So every Sunday it resets. It goes back to 500.
Okay, so the way to do it then would be like, you know, upload maybe 2 things, and then the next week another 2 things. Kind of thing. All right, I was going to put all 4 Winds of Times on there.
Oh, I'm sure it's plenty of space to put all 4. I mean, maybe not at the the largest quality, just down converted just a little bit.
Well, they're at like they're all about like they're all under 100 megabytes.
Oh
so
yeah, yeah, you should be fine. But also, I love Winds of Time, and I thank you so much for sending it to the Converge South Film Festival last year.
Oh, cool.
What do you call it? Deadly Finger. Everything made the cut. I don't know if you knew anything about that or not, and I apologize.
I heard later, like a few months later, Eric was there with oh man, what's the name of the guy who was there? There was a guy from North Carolina that was visiting.
Oh, Brian.
His name Brian?
Yeah, he was in Dogs also, as well.
I believe so. Yeah. And they told me at that moment, they were like, "Oh, hey, by the way, your movie's like killed in the festival and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, really? I didn't know."
I'm sorry.
I was like, "That's cool,"
It was I put together the festival, and then Eric showed me. He went to YouTube and I saw it, and I was just like, "Man, that has to." I'm like, "That's going to get so many good laughs," and it did. And we had this rating system, and it came in like third place for nonfiction or fiction, and Winds of Time. But everyone just laughed because it opened. Deadly Finger opened, and Winds of Time, the second episode, closed the film festival, and it was great. Everyone absolutely loved it.
Cool, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Last year we had episodes 1 and 2 in the San Francisco Underground Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Which is here at the Bridge Theater, and it's put on by this Peaches Christ character, and it's a really kind of underground cult thing. It starts at midnight. It's one of those very San Francisco kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great, man, because I got to see these things in a huge theater full of people, and the reaction was just like amazing. Like people were
cool.
cheering and clapping and laughing, and I thought, wow, that's really what prompted me to go. I guess I'll make a couple more.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same. Like you put them out there. Yeah, it's cool to get comments, and it's cool that people like it. And you see the people's views, and people tell you little email things, but it's just not the same as when you're sitting in a theater, and you got the energy of all these people and they're reacting to it right. I mean, that's really what I live for. Like that's to me. Like before this YouTube thing, like I would always. Like those VCO movies you saw, and any movie I would make that was longer than, 10 minutes, I would actually like rent out a little theater and make it an event, and I would invite everybody, and I'd be like, hey, I'm having a screening of this thing I did. Like that's how we did the adventure movies.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great idea.
That's how I did both the VCO movies, because to me, that's the fun part. It's like getting to live that life of like, hey, I'm a filmmaker. I'm making movies. People are coming to see it on a big screen, And that's how I did most of my my stuff. Like both adventure movies we did that way, which was a great night. That people had a lot of fun with that. And then I did the VCO movies that way, and people liked coming out for that. And it was interesting because when you see a movie like, especially like the one you saw, the dark one, on a big theater, and it's on a screen, and people are there, and everyone's involved in it. It's kind of hard to get involved with a movie like that on this little tiny computer screen.
Yeah, you're right.
And when something's funny, it's one thing, but when it's like this kind of serious movie and there's like things happening, like subtext and things, it gets missed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that really, and what was great about it was afterwards, we all kind of walked over to a bar, like not everybody, but most people came, and everyone was talking about it, like the morality behind the story and the character. It's like, yeah, here's this guy, and he killed his brother, and yeah, of course he's going to want you to die, but then his brother was a pedophile, and, like, is this guy really bad? And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if you remember, but when it ends, it almost becomes sort of like a horror movie, like this guy goes crazy, and he just, like, murders these people.
Yep.
And it's not pretty, and it's not cool, and, and that was very important to me. And I remember telling Troy and Ray and Dennis, I was like, this is not going to be a cool action scene. It's not going to be, no one's going to do like cool moves. Like it's just going to be, and I actually wrote like this 3-page, scene that's supposed to happen at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually Troy and Ray and then all three of them. But, actually a lot of it was Troy that time was very just kind of like, you know what? You would just want that knife. That's all you would want. So everything we do has to revolve around you just doing what you got to do to get that knife back. And so that totally changed everything I had written in it. It went from being like what could have been probably like a 4-minute scene to like 1 minute. And the whole thing's over in like a minute, like it goes wrong, it gets crazy, violent, and then boom, 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 everybody's dead. And I give them a lot of credit for that because I was like, yeah, because I really wanted it to feel like it would be that way,
Right. I know exactly what you mean, because the first episode I did with Corporate Assassin, I at first it was just like, yeah, the guy comes into the office and he kills people that annoy you at work. Like, who's the most annoying person you know at work? And I got a lot of people email me and going like, don't you think you should be focusing on CEOs? They're more evil. And I'm like, well, that's easy. I mean, this is kind of like, you're in the mix, and no matter where you work, you always have that one person that just annoys the hell out of you. And
yeah.
And so I wanted to make it like a really dark comedy. And then after we shot it and everything, I started doing the editing, and I started putting the score to it. And Blake came over, and he was sitting down with the score. He's just like, he's like, it's that music. It's really dark. And I'm like, no, it's perfect. I'm like, it's perfect, because it kind of takes away like the silliness of what is actually going on, and it tries to make it like real, and it's just like everyone can relate to this, but the same way I wanted to make it like real, kind of like surreal. I don't want it to be goofy where like you're like, yeah, they got killed. I want it to be like you think about what's going on, and because it's really cathartic. I mean, just you want that person next to you dead and in your office. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. It's just like I just don't.
So wait, those are on the Vimeo thing?
Yeah, it's on Vimeo.
Vimeo, okay. Vimeo.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's you've not seen Corporate Assassin?
I haven't.
Okay, it's right now. I only shot one episode, and I have a couple of teasers up. I have 2 episodes and scripts ready to go. We're just after we finish this next film we're about to shoot, I'm going to go back in. And
how would I find it? Would I go into Vimeo and type in your name, or
no? Go to Vimeo and just type in Corporate Assassin, and it should come up. Or just you could just Google Corporate Assassin. I have a blog up for it, and there's some cool functions, but it's like, man, I wish I had more resources and more time to devote to it, because first of all, I need office spaces like with cubicles, because that's ideally that I want.
Right.
But it's tough to find. It's tough to find those places. But some people have come forward and said, we have a place for you, but they're smaller offices, which will work. I'm not paying anybody, so it's I'm not going to be like no, frown down at it. But it's just like what you do. You're just constantly going out shooting and putting your ideas out there. It's the same way I want to start doing. But man, it's getting hard as an independent filmmaker. Right now I don't have a day job, so I pick up contract work left and right, and right now it's kind of left me. So,
yeah.
So I'm just...
No, it's hard, man. It's hard to kind of maintain this kind of lifestyle, where you have time to do these things, and yet you still have to have money and live. And I mean, ideally, I think all of our goals is to eventually make our money just being able to do this.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about doing, I definitely don't want to have to do depositions anymore. I just do them because, it pays pretty good, and it allows me to have, a lot of free time.
Yeah.
I have more say over my schedule. I can say, oh, you know what, I'm not available this day or that day, or, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but eventually, ideally, I'd love to be kind of like a self-contained filmmaker and be able to make these projects and put them out there, and people buy them, and it fuels enough that I can keep doing it and have enough money to live. And I don't need to live like a king or anything. I really don't care. I'll live like it was a teacher's salary or something. That'd be fine for me,
Oh God, yeah.
And but it's hard to do. And now with, on the one hand, it's great that there's all these resources now and technology, and all these venues to show them. But at the same time, it's inundated with people now. Everybody is doing stuff, and you said, on YouTube, your stuff just gets lost in this sea of stuff, and it's really hard to find a way. I'm lucky I have that website that helps.
Yeah.
And I think sites like this Vimeo site. I know there's other sites like that too that are more geared towards people who are trying to make actual films, Or
even what you're doing with Winds of Time, kind of like a series.
Yeah,
Blip TV is a perfect example. That's another.
I actually have some of my stuff on Blip. Yeah.
I love that site. It's and there are a lot of creative works and a lot of people on there that just do phenomenal work. So that's those are 2 sites. If I ever did anything creative, I want to put it on there. But again, if you do put it on YouTube, you never know. It might get hit, and then you got this a huge amount of exposure. So it's kind of
exactly. And for me, YouTube is great for like my really, really silly stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of it. Like,
yeah, that music video you did.
Yeah, there's a couple I did. Did you see the one with Troy in it? The New Kids on the Block video?
I haven't seen that one. I saw the one you did with the what was it, Neville Brothers or?
Oh, the Doobie Brothers.
Doobie Brothers, that's it.
What a Fool Believes, the puppets.
Exactly.
Yeah, for that, like, YouTube is great.
Yeah.
You know.
And you got that damn song stuck in my head for the rest of the week. I was like, why am I singing this?
Because it's an awesome song, man.
It's so
like
funny.
that. I've been in love with that song for like since I was a kid. And finally, I was like, I got to make a video to it. How can I make a video to the song without looking like a total jackass? I know. I'll put puppets in it, and everyone will think it's funny.
Exactly.
You know? So YouTube is great for that because random people can, like you said, you never know who could see it. Like Michael McDonald's grandkids might see it and like it and be like, "Hey, Grandpa, look."
Exactly.
So,
you're absolutely right. And I've told Eric a couple ideas, and and this is what I love about Eric, and he's open to anything. You just tell him he'll either be like, yeah, humor you, or be like, all right, fuck off. But he never says it like that. It's always cool. But I came up. This was like right during the end of the year. I was like, man, if you want to get a ton of hits, I was like, get all the stunt people dress them up in Yankees and Boston Red Sox, and have this huge fight. And then just I was like, who cares about the outcome? But I'm like, how many hits you're going to get if, like, with all the Red Sox fans and all the Yankee fans, like, on YouTube? I was like, you guys could become a celebrity in no time. And,
interesting idea.
I had another. You ever see The Story of Ricky?
No.
It's like this martial arts film. It's silly. Like, this guy gets angry, and he's like, and when he starts yelling, he can punch through everything, like walls, people's faces, and bodies.
I feel like I've heard of it, but yeah.
So
I've seen it.
I told Eric, I was just like, hey man, what about this character? I'm like, he doesn't have to be a main character, but I was like, this guy gets allergic to, pick your allergy, it doesn't matter. But when he gets allergic, that's like his strength, and his fists blow up. Because how some people, when they get allergic, their hands swell.
Yeah.
And I was like, but instead of like just being like all pussy and everything, it's like his weapon now. It's like almost like a hammer, so he can punch through things and.
That's so. What did Eric say?
Eric's just like, oh, okay, thanks. I was like, I don't expect you to do anything with it, but I was like, it's just something different and weird.
Why don't you make it, man?
Because I don't have access to those cool ass stunt people.
Oh, right.
I mean, I wish if I had access to them, I'm like, let's do it. Oh my God, it's like there must be a dream working with those guys. It seems like everyone's on the same page.
Well, in my experience with them, it's always been, very good, and they're always there to do it, make it good, and personally, I really like seeing them, be funny, like
right.
when like the way they are in The Winds of Time, like all the guys in episode 2, and of course, the Karate Boys are always I just think a joy to watch, like seeing them. That way, seeing Dennis as Derek Steele, for me, I'm like, dude, that's like your best character ever, because it's basically just like this, of all the movies that Dennis had made growing up that no one's really seen because he doesn't put them online. But, it's like when you're growing up and you're making these movies, you're always the action hero. I did that, when I was growing up, I was obsessed with Die Hard, like I thought I wanted to be, like a Die Hard hero, so all my early movies when I was a kid were, me taking on like people and taking them out and so I always told Dennis, I go, Derek Steele is basically just that guy that you play like amped up, like the millionth degree in a karate outfit, and he just grasped that and ran with it, and he's so funny, because of it, because he's so intense.
The whole thing is just hilarious. I love the Karita episode where you just start singing out Karita. That shit was so funny. And like, I mean, my wife sits next to me and we watch it, and she just cracks up every time. Like, just the movement, and when you're singing on top of that hill with her face, cracked up. It's just so funny, man. I mean, it's just, I bet it must have been great to hear that in a large audience.
Oh, that was the one where people were cheering because they saw the first one, and that kind of got them into it, and they laughed and they liked it. So when the second one came on and that happened, people were like cheering, and like even people were even calling out the character's name. Like there's some random dude like way off to the side screaming, Jorge, And I was like, wow, that's so awesome. And all my friends, we were all sitting together. We took up like 2 rows, and everybody was like, did you hear that? And I was like, yeah. And that, like I said, that's kind of what made me go, okay, I guess I'm going to have to make, a couple of more just to put them out there.
Oh yeah, man. And
did you see the 3 and 4?
Yes, I did. I loved them.
Yeah, my favorite, again, I had to top the Querida thing.
I know,
yeah. We did the dance number with all the karate guys,
That was great. Like, I was just, you wake up and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But that was great. It just stabs you and shoots you and nothing's happening and you guys are dancing. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just brilliant.
I live for that stuff, man. If I could make a living just making stuff like that, I'd be happy.
Well, the thing is, man, there are people out there that would fund. I know there are people out there that would fund this kind of stuff because what you come up with it's not, average or just, like, oh, okay, turn away. For me, for my taste, and I don't think I have exceptional, but I think I have understanding of what makes people laugh and everything else. And man, I would love to see someone come up and be like, hey man, we got to get you on board. And to me, honestly, my new goal, it's not like my new goal in life, but what I want to do is to find a way to get filmmakers like you and Micah, Blake, myself, and even Eric, ways to get, to find people who want to fund movies that will entertain people.
That sounds like a awesome goal, man.
And I think the thing that kicked it off was when I did that film festival. I met a couple of filmmakers who submitted their stuff, and it was just, the work was just phenomenal. And I was just like, wow, and then actually get to meet them, become friends with them. I was just like, you learn from being friends with other people that, have exceptional ideas because you become a part of that process, in the middle of it, and you see how it's done, you see the execution, and by the end you see the results, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
But
yeah. I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of crap out there. It just baffles me. But there's also a lot of really, really talented, great stuff. People and movies and it's like it's almost it's like if I dwell too much on that, it's almost like overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't do that because as a filmmaker, it's like it's really easy. We're a sensitive lot. So it's like. It's really easy to get disheartened and be like, everybody's like awesome,
Right.
So I can't think that way. I just think, that's great that they're doing what they're doing. I just have to do what I do.
Exactly. And you just worry about what you have, Don't worry about. I had a friend who I was partners with about like 8-10 years ago, and that's all he ever worried about was what other people do. And he's just like, there's so many people, they're going to be doing the same thing. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's like, as long as you're confident in yourself and you could get that image out there, that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you start tripping on what everybody else is doing, you're going to end up doing something really mediocre.
Yeah, and I look at it, I'm like, well, I'm being entertained. That's a new idea. That's something great to, aspire to. I used to be very protective, but I kind of dropped that shield maybe like 5 years ago, and I'm glad I did. I did because it's made me better as a filmmaker and also just as a person.
Sure, yeah, definitely, man. And what's funny is like we're talking about like trying to do things and get it out there, but the whole reason that Hell's Kittens came to be was because I'd seen partly because I saw how Eric was going to sell Contour, and then I have a friend in New Orleans who made this film called Love and Suicide, and she made it on like a very, very low budget and paid people so she could own it, and but she got it sold, and really almost just based on the concept and the cover art.
Wow.
And because the movie itself, it was really, really low production value. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And but I thought about Contour and I thought about Love and Suicide, and I said, man, I gotta just make something that I could sell. What could I do that I would like doing that would be marketable?
Right.
And I'm like, well, hot chicks kicking ass. Like how can you go wrong with that?
You
right?
can't, man. That's totally a marketplace for that too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was like, how could you go wrong? And then I'm like, and if not only if they kick ass, if they like make out with each other too, then like I've got all the markets covered. Like got the pervert market, got the gay and lesbian market, and I got the action lovers market.
Yeah, dude. God,
and that's how it came out. And I wrote my script based on that, you know. And then as it went along, though, as I was writing it, I actually found myself like falling in love with these characters, you know.
Nice.
And falling in love with this kind of story, because it's actually a noble story. I don't know if you know what it's about, but the story is actually that these girls are on their rescue mission to save one of the girl's best friends from her abusive husband. She's like in this abusive marriage.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, they all get fired from their burlesque dancing jobs, you know, and they're like, well, fuck it, let's go get your friend, you know. And along the way, you know, shit happens. They steal a gun and some weed from one of the girl's ex-pimp boyfriend. So now he's on their tail, and he hires the Beanie Boys, you know, to try to get it back. And so, you know what I mean? So along the way, there's like stuff that happens, and then they get her, and then, you know, and then there's a big action scene at the end. But then the real big action scene is after that. There's like a foursome between the four girls.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was like, just when you think the movie's over, you know, because all the actions happen and everybody's dead and everything, you know, that's the real moment that everybody's going to go, oh, I'm buying this movie, man, you know.
That is so
That's
hot.
kind of how it came to be, yeah.
Oh, man, that's perfect. I
know, and I'm really looking forward to. This is one of those movies that I just wish I didn't have to make. I just wish I could watch it, you know. Dennis says that all the time. Like when we watched the trailer when it was finally done, you know, or whatever. I call it a mock teaser because it's not really a real trailer. But afterwards, he was just like, "Great, let's watch the movie, man. Put it in."
Oh, that's so great.
And I'm like, "Oh, I wish we could do that," you know.
Hey, check out this one idea. I don't want to take up too much more time, man. It's great talking to you, by the way.
This has been fun, man. You know, I guess, like, you know, it's not. I guess I don't know what I expected. I thought it was going to be more like you had like a list of questions or something. But
so, tell me, I just like talking. You know, cool. I have this idea for a website, and this is I'd like to get ideas from other filmmakers because, like I was saying earlier, how I want to help everybody get their stuff done. This might be long-winded, but bear with me. I have an idea for a website which will kind of take IMBD, sort of like Facebook or MySpace. You know Prosper.com?
No, I've never heard of it.
Prosper.com is a lending site which users lend to other users. So if someone needs like $5,000 for the credit cards, you know, it goes kind of like it spreads throughout the users or whoever wants to finance that. So it's kind of like instead of going to banks or, you know, lending firms, people actually have, if they have extra money, they'll lend it out so they can make money, you know, a percentage. So they'll put up like 8%, you know, return. So what I want to do is kind of like put this really well-constructed website together that will really benefit filmmakers on the whole, independent filmmakers, but also it would be a destination as far as like entertainment for fans or people curious about the films. And so what I would like to do is let's take Dogs of Chinatown for example.
Okay.
Like Micah, it'll say director, written, directed by Micah Moore. Then it would show a list of his cast, and it'll have linked to everyone has their own space, you know, their own page with their demo reels on there. So you see Eric's involved. You go check out him. You see, you're like, wow, man, this guy's really talented. You see everyone else involved, and then you see like, you know, the composer, the musicians, you know, who's going to edit it. But at the same time, they'll also have a copy of the script up there. No one can get access to the script unless you're an executive producer. And this is where the Prosper comes in hand, where you have to somehow kind of verify yourself financially that you have money that you want to fund, you know, for a potential film. So when you come in, you see this film that has all these characters, or, you know, pretty much it's all set up. All it's missing is, you know, funding. So they can go in and they can read some of the pages of the script. Also, it could be a place where you can, you know, post dailies, or you could post teasers, trailers, whatever you want to do to get the exposure. So now, like, everyone's starting to come here to see what's going on with this film. Instead of going to IMDb, you just see, like, the static page going, like, you know, in works or in process. You know, it just has everyone's, like, photographs. It's kind of lame, you know, but it gets hit a lot because that's where everyone goes. But
I heard that IMDb now has videos.
Oh, they do?
That's what I heard. I just heard that yesterday. Dennis said that.
About freaking time. But this one would go further than that, because it would be more of like a independent. It would be for everybody involved in the filmmaking process. Like you're talking about graphic designers, musicians, photographers, grips, electric, pretty much everyone who does everything. Because you can also, for that film, like, we have everyone on board, but we're also looking for, boom operator or audio. But it'll also give people a chance to, almost have like accountability to what they do.
Uh-huh.
Because if someone like just walks off set, or I'm not saying that's the whole basis of it, it could be, walked off set, or had to leave for whatever, and then other people can come in. And it's kind of like, if you're a professional, you want that, because a lot of people I know that are going through like certain things. Like I come up and I have to clean up after them with editing. I've taken some jobs as a Final Cut editor to come in and help people finish their projects. And these people have no idea what they're doing. They go in and they start editing it, and they screw up their whole like timeline. Their media management system's just a mess, and I have to come in and rescue them. But it'd be a good place for people to start getting like credits, but at the same time, have that viability of like the executive producers coming in and saying, yo, we want to fund this film. What's the budget on it? 50,000, 100,000, so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a good idea.
But do you have any other ideas to throw at something like that?
Well,
like what's it missing?
What's it missing? Did you? Okay. I think it's cool. Like so you're saying basically, like they would go and they'd be able to see like a project, but only executive producers could read the script.
Only the executive producers can read the script. Yeah, but everybody else on the other side, like, if you're just a viewer, you want to see what's going on with Dogs of Chinatown, you can go there. Then you could see everyone involved in it. You could see the teasers, the trailers, what day production, what's going on next, and see, the process. Because right now we're doing sound effects, and we're putting that in right now. So it's kind of like an updated version of what's going on with the actual film.
Is there a way, and would there be a way to, like, have links or somehow be able to see, like, other stuff by these people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everyone has their own, like, homepage, so to speak, where it's kind of like a profile, and it'll show, like, specific gigs that they worked on. So kind of like the IMDb, when you go to the actor's site, it will have all links to everything else that they worked on, except these links will have actual, like, usability. For instance, like if it's a TV show, it will actually show the production in it. You could see clips. You could see everything kind of like there. It's one in itself. It's not just like another link to a page. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you kind of covered everything. I can't really.
Also,
I mean, the way I see it would be like, you go, you see like a page for each project, right?
Mm-hmm. With
artwork over the project and like an update on where it's at. And like you said, you can click on video clips that, like what, maybe like behind the scenes clips or something, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even like things like this, little interviews on the set or something would be cool. Like little audio like clips would be
sure.
neat. You click on that and be like, oh, interview on the set of Dogs of Chinatown, and you click on it, and so I mean, that sounds like you got it all kind of worked out.
There's one other thing, also digital distribution too. That would be cool to put with it. Or
digital meaning
like kind of like what Netflix has, and also what Amazon and iTunes, where you could rent films.
Ah, yes.
And this is like after production's done and everything, it goes through DVD, distribution or whatever else.
This is all geared towards getting like money into the filmmakers.
Yeah.
So they could actually make something off what they're putting out there.
Exactly. Where everyone gets paid, you have a fully funded feature-length film, and pretty much based on these independent users who come in and fund, the film. And that way you could set up, what kind of system you want to do in a return, as far as like return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, do it. Are you doing it?
I'm not a programmer at all, but I've talked to a couple people right now who they're giving me ideas. They're like, find other places that are looking into do this, or find similar websites and try to get as many as you can, and then send them to us. And because they have some contacts with some websites or web hosting places. So
yeah, well, I mean, if you like my website, you can easily get to that guy by, I believe you can click on his 10.2, the little icon on the main page. You can click on him if you want to pitch that idea to him. I don't know if he would be into that or whatever, what your plan is, who you're trying to get to do it, but I mean, he's good.
Yeah, and it really, I think right now it'd really be on like, well, I'd love to get funding, from somebody who would, who would give us money so we can actually get programmers and, everything to make it actually go fast, rather than, hey, you got some time today, we need to get this done,
Sure, yeah, I know that's the problem when you do things and not pay people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I insist with Hell's Kittens that we have a budget, because, that little teaser trailer we made,
yeah,
I think took forever to get done.
Just everyone's schedule?
Because of scheduling, yeah. I mean, just things would come up. People would be like, oh, well, you know what? I know I said I was available that day, but actually I got to go away for this weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, So something that could have been done literally from start to finish in a month, from start to finish, including post.
Right.
When you think about how much, like, actual work we put into it, it could have easily been we shot for, not 2 days, not even 2 full days.
Wow.
And, 2 5-hour days to shoot that stuff. And then, and then the post thing took a while, but even if you put all the hours we put together, it probably was a week's worth of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it took months to get it done, months, dude. We shot that thing back in November.
Yeah, I remember Eric showed us some of it when he was here for Dogs.
Oh, that was when I had just that really, really rough kind of teaser up, because I wanted to put something up because everyone was like, what the hell's going on,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I like that idea for that site, man. Do it. Let's do it. It baffles me that there's so much money out there, they're pouring bajillions of millions of dollars into these bad movies.
Yeah.
That get all the, they get all the distribution and and you watch them and you're like, this is lame, take out, $20 million from each of these big movies and distribute it evenly all over the place. You could fund a bunch of people like us,
Exactly, and that's, oh man, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, and there's so much talent out there too. It's just it's frightening. And to be honest, I think the studios and the corporate industry is getting kind of scared about it, because there's a bill, and I've heard this on, it's like a YouTube video I saw, and I've actually saw it through other websites too. Talking about, have you heard of anything about the orphan bill?
No.
And what they're trying to do, they said that this bill is in front of Congress right now, but you would have to take your work, let's say Hell's Kittens, for example. You would have to make sure that you register it through a copyright, registry place in order for it to be yours. It's not like now where if you prove it that that you created it, that it's yours, and you have a date stamped, everything like that. As soon as you make something now, it's pretty much copyrighted. If somebody wants to take it from you, go to court and you can pretty much prove it. Now what they're trying to push into Congress is a bill that will allow, if you do not go through this registry system, that anybody could take your project or your whatever it is, your rights, your artwork, anything, your literature, and they can register it and it becomes theirs.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. And it's totally what I would like to know is, I want to know what idiot congressperson is pushing this bill. I want to know which one in general, because I want to attack him. I want to make his life a living hell, because there is just no way in hell that it would ever fly. And actually,
yeah, that's just insane. That's insanity right there, man.
And they're trying to do the same thing in England. So we'd be the only 2 places in the world that have this, forget about copyright infringement, or it's not yours anymore. You have to go through a copyright place. But could you imagine? I mean, if you're a corporate entity, you'd be like, all right, let's hire about 50 people, get them to skim through the internet and find stuff that's not copyrighted, and let's just take those ideas. And we can make money off it and everything else. And it's just, so I'm kind of hesitant of saying that it's actually true, but, from the articles I read, it made it very urgent, saying that, if this bill passes, then, all these independent artists are screwed unless they go through this one copyright registry. And it's just that is just fucking ridiculous.
Well, to some degree, it's already kind of true. The difference being that, you can't, the hell is this? I just found the weirdest thing in my room. I can't even explain to you what it is. But you like to some like right now, if like you haven't copyrighted your stuff, someone could, steal your idea. I mean, they can't steal your exact movie, but they can steal that concept. And I mean, that's always been a fear when, like in the beginning, when people were telling me to put my stuff online, I was actually scared of that,
Right.
What if someone takes my Winds of Time idea and just redoes it, And, but the idea of them actually being able to take that project, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how true that really is, but if it is, that's just not cool, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I try to copyright stuff now. Like, the first thing I did when I was done with the Hell's Kitchen scripts, I registered it with the Writers Guild, and technically, you should do that with all your stuff. But yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I hope that's not true.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Congress actually passing that. I mean, if they did, there'd be like a serious revolution against their ass. Because I can't imagine like the creative world, or at least Americans stand by and be like, oh, okay, just
yeah, go ahead and do that. Yeah, no, I don't think so, man.
No.
Well, I was gonna tell you, man. I lost my train of thought.
Well,
are you gonna? Can you send me this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It'll be up probably tomorrow.
Awesome.
But man, thank you so much, Jose. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, no, it was great talking to you too, man. Thank you.
You got it, man. And next time I'm out in San Francisco, I'll give you a ring.
For sure, man. Yeah, we should all hang out and do something.
Sounds awesome.
All right, cool, man. I'm actually on my way to go meet up with Dennis and Troy to watch Harold and Kumar.
All right, cool, man. All right. Have a great day, man.
All right, you too, man.
See you, Jose.
Bye.
What can I say, Jose? Thank you so much for stopping by and having a conversation with me. You're a good man. All right, everyone, check out Jose's work over at Blip TV. Go on and search for Hell's Kittens. It's a phenomenal promotional piece for his up-and-coming feature that hopefully will be funded by someone who knows what they're doing. And that's the way to do it. If you have an idea for a feature-length film, go ahead and shoot just a piece. Give them a taste. Just put together a teaser of like all the cool stuff and get people to drool over it. Go out, show it to as many people as you want, and try to get some funding. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. Jose Montesinos continues to push the boundaries of independent filmmaking with his innovative projects and dedication to storytelling. His ability to blend humor, action, and drama makes his work stand out in the creative landscape. To explore more of Jose's work, visit his IMDb page for a comprehensive look at his filmography and achievements, the photography that I'm currently doing and so much in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.